All right, we are live. Hello and happy Cowboy Day. Yeehaw! So I am coming to you from Galveston, Texas. And I wanted to just say happy Cowboy Day. And then I'm going to get this live stream kicked off. If you don't know, we are here kind of to celebrate Cowboy Day, but also in celebration of that, we have a really cool giveaway for everybody. We are giving away 7 full-length, full-price cowboy books for free. Every single person who joins our giveaway can get all 7 of those books for sure. And then we're going to choose one winner who will also get a Kindle Paperwhite. So if you haven't signed up for the Cowboy Day giveaway, you'll want to do that. And in just a second, I will drop the subscribe page link on there in the comments on the chat. We are coming from a couple of different places, so I'm going to have the ladies introduce themselves, and I'll go last so that I can not try to think while I'm also dropping in links. So, Danae, why don't we start with you, and then we'll do Ellie and Jewel after that.
Sure. So I'm Danae Little, and I am so excited to be here today. I just got back from a camping trip, and luckily I got time for a shower, so I'm pretty stoked about that. I'm here from California, the Sierra Nevadas in California, so it's a small town, mountain town that is, and different than the city part that Ellie is from, right? And I think that's what we're just introducing ourselves, right? And I just want to make sure that everyone knows. Tell us what?
Tell everybody a little about you and also about your books. You know, just in general, I write this and this, if you have a name, and then a little bit about your family or life or whatever.
Okay, thank you. So I write Clean Cowboy Romance with a little bit of suspense, and sometimes I write Christmas ones too. Those are always fun. And let's see, I'm really horrible about talking about myself. I have a husband and a son, and they're just both remarkable, and we have so much fun together, and we love to do adventures. And this last week, we've been dirt bike riding and paddleboarding and rock climbing, and it's just been a blast. So that's what I do when I'm not writing. I did get a few words in while we were in there, snuck them in. Working on my next book in my Hope Lake series, but I have 4 main series in my Clean Cowboy. It's The Unforgettable Cowboys, and which is, we'll talk about that book that you're going to get for free in that one, and then Faithful Cowboys, and my Christmas Tree Ranch series, which I just had a new release, and Hope Lake, which is also a cowboy romantic suspense kind of mood. So I think that's about it. Yeah, and I will pass it on to Ellie, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Perfect.
I'm Ellie Hall, Sweet and Sweeney romance author, and I just have to point out that Bridget has her puppy, her dog, in the shot, which I love dogs, so makes me very happy to see. My dog's by my feet, but so I'm Ellie Hall, and let's see, I write Christmas, cowboys, and rom-com. I want to make it 3 C's. Rom-com kind of has the comedy in it, so you'll sometimes find them, standing alone, those genres. Sometimes you'll find them all combined. But my book that's in this promotion is Summer with the Cowboy, and despite the heat, I do love the summer. So I'm about the beach and sunshine and the garden and being outside. I love it. And I kind of wish that I'd gone camping with you, Danae. That sounds like a blast, right up my street. I keep saying to my husband, one of my author friends rides dirt bikes. We should get one. And he's like, okay.
We're going to switch up, right? You're going to teach me how to surf, and I'll teach you how to dirt bike ride.
There you go. So what else? I'm a mom, a wife, a Christian, have a dog and cats and a crab. It's my daughter's crab. And somehow I'm in charge of taking care of it. We have chickens, and actually we have an alligator in our pond. I thought it had wandered off, but it is back. So,
wow,
that's scary.
It's not too big. It's maybe 4 or 5 feet, and it just sort of stays. As long as it stays over there, I'm good.
Ellie, how many chickens do you have?
We have 6, and they're only I would say 3 months old, and so they're still they're kind of still figuring things out. But the other day I went in the coop, and they're still in the coop. They have a run that's enclosed, but they're not free ranging yet. And the other day I went in there to do something, and one just landed on my arm, just like I'm a falconer. It like landed right on my arm, and it was just perched there. And I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, we have quite a few chickens that like to sit on our arms, probably 3 or 4 of them. And we joke around that they look like big fat parrots because we really like to be with the people. So yeah, that cracks me up. That's fun. But if you haven't done it yet, you need to grab some fake eggs. They can be ones from like a kitchen or ones from anything. They sell ceramic eggs at the like feed stores. And you'll want to put one in the nesting box so they know where to lay. Because if you don't have any, like when I get new chicks now, we always have other chickens and they'll see what they're doing and they'll go over and watch them. And then they'll be like, oh, that's where my eggs go. But we put a couple ceramic eggs in there anyway, because it helps them know where to lay. And you want them to lay in the nesting box so that they're laying in the right place and they're not laying their eggs in poop or mud or anything like that. So
Yeah. Good suggestion. I'll remember that. Well, an Easter egg work?
Sure. Yeah, anything really. Although the Easter eggs, sometimes if they like fall apart, I mean, if I were going to do an Easter egg, I want to glue it together so they didn't like, what is this? They need to kind
probably realize. Chickens are smarter than you'd think.
Yeah, they are really smart. So.
Jewel.
Yep, Jewel, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jewel Allen, and my dog is too big to put up on the screen.
That's
a golden retriever. Her name is Lily. And, I thought she'd be my riding buddy and like just lay by my feet. But unless I'm in the kitchen, she doesn't like coming to my office. I guess it just makes her think too much of work or something.
Yeah.
But the kitchen has food, so maybe that's why she comes to the kitchen. So I write mostly contemporary romance with, strong heroes. So I write cowboys, billionaires, firefighters, and royals. I'm sure I'll write more someday, but those are the main ones that I have right now. Perfect. And the book that is in the promo that I'm giving away is called Blind Date with a Rodeo Cowboy. And that combines 2 of my loves, which is cowboys and royals. Oh, sorry. It's not Blind Date. It's Secret Royal. Okay, I'm giving away Secret Royal with a Rodeo Cowboy. So I came up with the title first, and then I wrote the story to match it. I thought that was kind of fun. Like, why is there a secret royal in a cowboy ranch or a ranch? And so she has the heroine has
Joel, yeah. I'm going to stop you for 1 second because we're going to talk about books in a minute. I don't want you to give away. You're
I won't.
It's becoming a spoiler.
Sorry. So
I
tell you a little bit more about me. I just got back from a camping trip too. Well, we went on a houseboat. Does that count as camping? I don't know.
I think it does.
It was still pretty hot, and my grandson ate dirt, so I guess that's still camping. But it's so much fun. It's probably the last summer that our married kids will be able to come to this because everybody's like moving away. Isn't it sad? Oh. It's exciting, but sad. So we're empty nesters. And so aside from writing, I love photography. I like taking pictures of my horses. We have 5 right now on site. We have 3 neighbor cats who hang out in our front porch and give me the reputation of the crazy cat lady, even though I swear I'm not. We have 2 indoor cats, and we have my dog. So.
That's great.
You're a beautiful photographer too, Jewel. Like your pictures are absolutely stunning.
I didn't realize how many people in the group had horses and chickens and all kinds of, because I know Jesse does too. Jesse's not on here today, but so in case the viewers are curious, there are 7 of us. A couple of us had some emergencies and couldn't come on a Friday night. So there are only 4 of us standing. So we will talk about the 3 missing friends of ours in just a second. And we'll also mention their books too, so you know a little bit about those. So I didn't mean to cut you off though, Jewel. Did I stop you there?
It's okay.
Do you have more to say?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So I'll go then. My name's Bridget Baker. I write under the very sneaky pen name of B.E. Baker. So I write my fantasy, romantasy is probably closer to what it is under Bridget E. Baker. It's all kind of weird and different. Anything from horse shifters to, I call it like a clean Game of Thrones type of thing, but they're always set on Earth. And then under B.E. Baker, I write all of my clean romance and women's fiction. And so I have a billionaire series. I like rich people. I think it's interesting. I like to do rich and poor people in the same story. And then I also have another series that I just started that's about foster kids finding their happily ever after. And then the one that's in this one, I'll talk a lot more about later, but that's my cowboy one. And so we'll get to that when we talk about the books. As far as my life goes, I have a lot of animals. You've seen Chewy is our youngest. She's a year. She's the puppy, actually, of her mother's on the floor over there, right by me. We'll see your mom. So we have a Pomeranian, and she's had 2 litters now, and we kept Chewy because we couldn't get rid of her, and I am a glutton for punishment, apparently. So now we have 2 Pomeranians, and we have a Border Collie. And then we also have 6 horses. We have 3 of them on property right now, and then 3 of them are at boarding facilities. 2 of them are at a jump barn, and 1 of them is getting broke. She's going to do reining and stuff. So, and then we have about 30 chickens, I think. Yeah, 30 chickens. And then we have 3 cats, and they're all rescues, but they're kind of fun rescues. We have a Bengal, and then we have a Maine Coon, and then we have, so they're like exotic rescues. And then we have another one that basically we got when it was like 6 days old because its mother was killed by a bobcat. So that one like was bottle fed, and we call him our feral cat, but really you've never seen a nicer cat in your life. So anyway, that's our little farm at the house, and I have 5 kids, and I'm a lawyer, and then I also write. So that's a little bit about us, and I'll tell you at least one of the authors who's missing I'll talk about, and then maybe we'll let Danae or Ellie or Jewel talk about the other 2. Okay, Danae's nodding, good. So I'll just mention that Elena Johnson is not able to make it tonight, but she actually writes under 4 different names, but the one you probably know her the best as is Liz Isaacson. She's been writing cowboy romance. I would almost call her the rodeo queen of cowboy romance. She's been writing it for a long time. And she has, I don't even know, she has about 200 books out under all 4 of her names. Her real name is Elena Johnson. Then Liz Isaacson is her cowboy romance pen name. And then she writes under, oh man, this is like a test for Bridget. Under Donna Jeffries, she writes rom-coms. And under Jessie, gosh, there's a lot of Jessies. Jessie Newton, I think. Jessie Newton, yeah. She writes her women's fiction. So she's got a lot of books out under all of those. And so when it comes time, I'll happily talk about her book. But for now, I'll just say she has 2 kids, and both of them have graduated onto college. And she has 2 really cute dogs that I have met, a little one and a big one. And she has a wonderful husband. And I like to say she's a boat person because her husband has now gotten boats. And so she gets to go boating. I was laughing because I sent her a meme of me like falling off a boat. I mean, not really me, but a woman falling off a boat and bonking her head. And she's like, no, that's me too. So she's now very recently a boat person. And she lives in Utah. And she said it's awfully hot there. I think we're baking here. And I am currently in Galveston. My husband works in Galveston. So we have a beach house down here. And we bring the dogs out whenever I can find someone to watch the horses for a couple of days. And so I sent all my kids to the beach so that my 5 children wouldn't be here in the background making a bunch of noise. So anyway, Danae, did you want to talk a little bit about, we have 2 more amazing writers who are part of this group but couldn't make it, if you want to mention a little bit about them.
Absolutely. So we have Natalie Dean, who is, she actually is starting to, no, I shouldn't say that. Anyways, she's such a sweetheart. I'm not sure how much she actually wants me to share about her, but I know that she does have one son who's the same age as mine. And that's really cool because they have been getting together online and having little online play dates. But she lives across the country from me. So it's a super special thing to me to have that. She writes cowboy romance, Clean Cowboy all the way through, and just amazing writer. I get to talk about one of her books a little bit later on. So there's Natalie Dean, and then Jessie Gussman, who I think probably everybody on here probably knows. She is a queen of Clean Cowboy Romance, but she also does beach romance. And didn't she do a little rom-com? Do you guys know? I think she did.
I'm not
but
sure.
She's
not sure.
Sorry?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Anyways, she's also another sweet lady, has a big ranch, tons of animals, tons of chickens. horses, and her newsletters are just amazing because they're full of life. But again, I did not ask permission about how much to share, so I probably should not do too much more.
Totally fine. So if you want, does someone want to just mention, I know Jessie Gussman has animals too. And that's about the extent. We're Facebook friends, but I haven't met her in real life. So she posts the cutest pictures of her horses. Yes. I mean, and cows. She just had a baby horse today. So she said she has a book baby and a horse baby on the same day.
Aw. She has lots of book babies. She publishes a lot. I don't know, I don't
know how she and Elena do it. I really don't.
I have no idea either. She
runs an egg factory or something.
Yeah. I think she does sell her eggs, right?
It's like a big production.
Yes.
Yeah, she's talked to me about that too. She had I don't know if she has as many now, but for a long time she had like a ridiculous number of chickens, like thousands. She may still, but I know she did for a while.
Wow.
So yeah, she definitely keeps busy.
Absolutely.
And then do we also have Mandy?
So Mandy is she's not a part of this live event, but she's a part of our cowboy group, and she's amazing author too.
In order to do this live event, we all had to have a book that we were able to make free, and we can't make a book free if it's in Kindle Unlimited. So sometimes we have some authors that aren't able to participate, even though they'd like to, and we would love to have them do it. We just have to always make sure we're following terms and conditions in case people are like, why wasn't she in it? We didn't shun her. She didn't shun you guys.
Everybody we would love her to be here, but
we just have to follow the terms and conditions on Amazon. So
yes.
So now I think it's a good time for us to actually talk about the books that you'll get if you enter the giveaway. And also if you want to mention a little bit why you love cowboys and why it was something that you started writing. Danae, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. I do. I've always had a thing for cowboys. I don't know what it is. Maybe it was, I grew up for a little while in the Central Valley, and then I moved up to Mariposa, which is a tiny, tiny little county. And there was a lot of ranchers up there. Lots of cute wranglers, so I've always had a little thing for that, and just their mannerisms and their manners, they're just more like wholesome kind of people, I feel like. And the fact that they haven't forgotten, how to treat a woman, I think for the most part, of course, that this is a little bit of a generalization, but those are the kind of cowboys I love to write. They might have a little bit of an edge to them, but they sure know how to treat their mamas, and they know how to treat their women. And to me, that's huge in the whole cowboy thing. Plus the horses. I mean, I've never actually got to have a horse of my own, but I have been caretaking of other people's horses and ridden most of my life. So it's just been, you gotta include those, and the dogs too, for sure. Perfect.
Now tell us about your book that you're giving us.
Yeah, see, this is a hard thing for me, as you guys know. So the book that I'm giving away for free, and I went to all my readers and I was like, okay, guys, which book is the book that you think is the one that would really capture all of my stuff into one book? And they said Her Wounded Cowboy, which is actually the third book in my Unforgettable Cowboy series, which is a amnesia romance, little bit of touch of suspense series. And the reason I think they like this third book is because it actually brings in characters that you get to meet in a different series, and then that series leads you on to the next series. It's all of my books tend to kind of follow the characters. I can't say goodbye. I'm horrible at goodbyes. You just have to cut me off. So I keep my readers my characters close to me. I love to see them pop back in so we can keep in contact, I guess. So Her Wounded Cowboy is about Savannah and Ryder, and they knew each other when they were younger in high school. And Savannah had the hugest crush on Ryder, and they had a moment together. And then he went off to college, and the next thing she knows, he comes back married, and she doesn't know what's going on or why. So her heart is totally broken. So that's just the backstory. And then later on, she goes to school, become a physical therapist, and she comes back to town. And her first patient happens to be Ryder, who was a rodeo cowboy, which is how that gets into my Faithful Cowboy series. And he had a tragic accident and lost his memory and lost the use of a lot of different functions of his body. He had a hard time walking and things like that. Really destroyed his knee. And he has a little daughter, and he can't remember his daughter. So it's this really heartbreaking kind of thing in the beginning where he can't remember anything really. And he doesn't remember his daughter. He doesn't remember her. So he doesn't remember the stuff that they had together at that moment. I mean, and so Savannah kind of comes in and nurtures and heals. But she has her own issues too of trust and things like that. So they get to help each other heal. And it's, of course, I really love putting kids in my books. It's just part of me. And it's really, I think it really brings the depth of the characters out. So the little daughter in that story is very much of a spitfire. And she just attaches to Savannah. And she's like, I'm going to get these two together because this is what I want. I want my family. So it's a sweet story. I love it. So should I go ahead and talk about Natalie's story really quick, or should we wait till
let's throw those in at the end so that we can put the three together, and that way people don't confuse our faces. At the end we'll say, okay, now we're doing ones that are not for the four of us.
Perfect.
So Ellie, why don't you tell us about yours?
Sure. So I actually just got the paperback copy, which I'm so excited about. This book is part of a 6-book small town beach series, even though it's a cowboy book. And it's had a couple different covers, but I finally settled on this one. And a little known fact, or I don't know if it's not a little known fact, but up until very recently, I really didn't own copies of my books, which is kind of bizarre. But now I have a paperback. So anyway, so this is called Summer with the Cowboy, and I thought it would be fun to take the cowboy off the ranch and put him on the beach. And kind of like Danae was saying, I kind of interweave my worlds and characters. And so I have a 8-book cowboy series called the Ritchie Ranch Cowboy Series, and it's a big family saga, the whole thing. And one of the family members, Tucker, who's the star here. Something happens. I don't want to give any spoilers, but something happens and he kind of goes to this small beach town to get away from it all. And he meets a neighbor they're just like fire and water right off the bat. But of course, he learns that she doesn't know how to drive. She's newly in this town, and she's kind of has her own backstory why she's there, and she doesn't know how to drive. And so he, of course, like the gentleman he is like, well, I'll teach you. That's just a very practical thing. Like one of the things I really love about cowboys, building off of everything you said, Danae, was they're like very resourceful, very capable. Like you could turn to a cowboy and they would know how to do anything, like from fix a car to wrangle a horse to like anything and everything. They know how to do it, which I think that's a lost art in our culture by and large. And it's just like, it's very heartening to know like these people still know how to do all this stuff.
Well, and Ellie, on top of knowing how to do things, they also are able to often take things that you wouldn't think to fix something and fix it. They're very practical. And so like I had this cowboy cousin of mine who his son like poked a hole through the door. It was one of these like doors that's hollow. And he's like, oh crap, your mom's going to kill us. Right. Because they were playing swords with the broomsticks. So he takes a banana, sticks it through the door, cuts off either end and paints over it. And it was like 4 months before that thing dried out and fell into the door. And they got in trouble. And she's like, I can't get mad at you 4 months later. And I was like, if that's not the most cowboy thing I've heard, I don't know what is. They're like, what do I have on hand I can fix this with? How about a banana and some paint? We're good. Mom will never know. It's cool, kids.
So anyway, so he teaches her how to drive, and they're kind of spending the summer together. And of course, there's like some conflicts between them, and there's sort of like the ticking time clock with the end of summer coming. But he also learns that she's never been kissed. So that's another little twist that comes along later on in their romance. So it's Tucker and Chevy Ann, and in this series, but in this book in particular, he's a mechanic as well as a cowboy. And so, and that's where the car stuff comes in. And I love old cars and trucks. So I weave that into the story as well as I love food. So there's actually a recipe in the back of the book for cowboy cookies, and a small town map, which I have a couple series where I've built a map for the town, and it's just so fun as a reader. I love that. I love these little extras that authors put in. So there's the story itself, and then there's the follow-on story. You can jump right into the Richie Ranch series and meet the entire family. And I've tied that into like other books. People make cameos, and then there's the recipe and the town map and the other 5 books in the summer romance series. So I like to kind of leave a lot of threads for readers to kind of follow if that's what they want to do, and connect things and make connections with readers. I love hearing, you know, what they think of the town or the characters, or, you know, that kind of thing. So
Me too.
Yeah. On to you, Jill.
Okay. So, Ellie, I was just curious, how did you make your map? Like, did you just draw it? Or?
I drew it out, like, kind of, you know, as I was writing the story, like, you know, like you want to make sure that if someone's going to the post office and like you comment that, you know, the beach is in one direction, like you kind of keep it all straight. So oftentimes if I'm making a small town that doesn't actually exist, I'll just keep a piece of paper nearby and jot things down. But then I use the Canva program to actually make it.
That's
so
great.
And then I had someone, like, I think it was I forget what it's called. I think it's a Mac program, and they kind of draw over your lines. One of those. I'm not very tech savvy. So.
No, I do the same thing in my books, right? Because we're always like putting things on Main Street.
Yeah.
But I never thought that maybe I could make it into a map. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
So for my readers. Okay, so how I got started in cowboys. Well, first of all, let me tell you where I began. So like in the Philippines, I'm from the Philippines. You talk about hot, it's pretty hot over there, but we do have beaches, which is a plus. So how did a girl from the Philippines do cowboys? Well, we don't really do cowboys there, but when we moved to this town that we live in now, our kids got into 4-H, like horse program. And if you can imagine, you know, like I have my 8-year-old daughter. She doesn't know how to handle a horse. So guess who has to learn how to handle this big animal? It's mom, that's never really handled a horse. It's really scared of a horse. But because of that experience, we just really got into like small town life and got to know about cowboy lifestyle and stuff. We boarded our horses for the longest time, which wasn't very easy. And until finally we got our horse property. And so that's kind of a roundabout way.
It's expensive too.
Yeah, very expensive. And, you know, and then they're like, you can't always visit them easily. This way, our kids growing up, when they wanted to, they could just go out there and do their thing. And I don't have to like supervise. So those kids are now grown, but we still have horses. And so I just started, you know, I started writing billionaire romances at first, which is super cool. Like you said, Bridget, like there's just something about fantasy, right? Like having a rich hero or that kind of lifestyle. But then I started thinking how fun it would be to write about the cowboy, because they're like more down to earth and they're kind of more like regular people. And I figured, you know, I know all about it. And so I just started doing it for National Novel Writing Month. And I shelved it for a year. I just didn't know why. I had no confidence about it, I guess. And then a year later, I was like, let me look at it again. And I read it and I thought, oh, this is actually kind of cute. So I did it. And then, of course, after I wrote that book, I was like, gosh, I guess I better follow up with more books. And so I looked into why, like a generation, let's see, the generation before, how this even got started. And then that hero had 5 brothers. And before I knew it, I was writing a whole series about this fictional town in Colorado called Sunny Ridge. And so that's how I got started. I love it. It's really, it's fun. And if I listen to my characters, the story writes itself. I mean, I know it's not that easy, but you know what I mean? Like, it's not hard like some things where you have to think about all these like world building. I guess because I already know how it is. So I tell my neighbors, I'm like, hey, you might be in my book. I mean, I tried to use it as a selling point, but I don't think they believe me. But one of these days, I think they're going to catch on, and they just might ask me some hard questions about it. Hopefully not. So anyway, the book that I'm giving away is called Secret Royal and the Rodeo Cowboy. So I said earlier, I write about royalty and cowboys. So I thought, why not bring them together? So I have a princess coming from a fictional principality called Mondragon in Europe, coming to a small town called Sunny Ridge. And her parents are sending her there because there's a scandal. And they think they're sending her to where royalty go, but they realize belatedly that it's rodeo royalty, which is a totally different kind of royalty. And also she has to be incognito, right? Because the press will catch wind of this, and that will be bad. And so she has to do all this work that she's never done in her life. And so it's really fun. I had a lot of fun with that because I didn't even know what the story was about until I saw the title. And I wrote it, and it turned out really well. And it's the start of a series. So the next one is coming up in August. It's a blind date with the rodeo cowboy. And so it's a spin-off from my Riverdale Ranch romance series. So which is fun because like like all of you ladies, like I started writing about a town, and then there's all these other side characters that bring their own stories. And so it's just fun to keep going. So
that sounds great. I've got, I joined the giveaway so that myself and my daughters can read these. So the book that I did, Jewel was just talking about how she kind of draws on real life sometimes. And the idea that I had for this book actually came from a couple of things. So the book that I have in the giveaway is called The Bequest. And I have all my books at the beach house because unlike Ellie, I have like literally a billion copies of all my books in paperback. So this is mine. So I had, I'm a lawyer. And so I had a client that has been a client for years and years and years. And one of the things that I do a lot of stuff for his business, but their family owns a ranch, and their family ranch has been passed down. And as long as someone in the family wants to run it as an active cattle ranch, that person gets essential. I mean, they have ownership of it as like a life estate, as long as they're running it as a ranch. When no one wants to run it as a ranch anymore, then they can split it up and kind of divide it and sell it and do whatever they want to do. And so as I was talking to him about this, and they have a big family, there's a lot of kids, but I was talking to him about the ranch, and I got this idea because at the same time I was helping a friend of mine, doing some pro bono stuff. Her husband had passed away unexpectedly, which was really sad. And so, when that happens, a lot of times, people struggle. So I was helping with all the legal stuff that she needed help with. And she was telling me how her sister-in-law had also lost her husband about a year before. And they were both married to brothers. And so that poor mother. But as she was talking to me about it, she's like, I was not friends with her. We didn't get along. We weren't close. We didn't have much in common. But now that both of us have lost our husbands and their brothers, and it happened a year apart, we've gotten really close. And I was thinking about that in conjunction with the ranch. And it gave me the idea to write a book about two women who did not live on a ranch, who didn't know anything about ranching or were never around cowboys. One of them was an influencer who lived in New York City and had two little girls. And she'd lost her husband a few years before, and she did not have a very good marriage. And the other one was, wait for it, a lawyer who lived in Houston. And I've read a lot of books where there are kids, but I felt like the kids never really felt like a real part of the plot. And there was always one or maybe two where the kid kind of felt like an accessory, and they'd pop in and out when they felt like it. And I have 5 kids, and I wanted to read a book that had a lot of kids in it, that felt like my house feels utter chaos at all times. No, but I really wanted it to feel real and tangible. And so I didn't know anything about ranches. So this sweet, kind, it's the Beck family. They don't mind if I share. Doug Beck, who is running this ranch, spent, 50 hours on the phone with me. I think he and his wife both like holding my hand, answering my questions, because I know a lot about horses. I knew nothing about cattle ranching. And I decided to go ahead and set it. And just their ranch is the Birch Creek Ranch. And they were like, we'd love it if you titled it that, and used pictures from our ranch. And I went out there to do a cattle drive. It was a lot of fun. But anyway, So, and then the kids, people are like, how did you get the kids so spot on? Because the lawyer in Houston, who is also a widow, and of course she was married to the brother of the influencer in New York, she had 4 kids. So there's like 6 kids that are really pretty integral to the plot. And people are like, how do you keep them straight? I'm like, oh, 5 of them are mine. I just gave them like similar, like, you know, Ethan is the character. My son's name is Elijah. It's like the same. And then, you know, there's a daughter named Izzy, but my daughter's name is Isadora, but she goes by Dora. And then you can see how creative I am. I'm like, my kids don't even have the right to say no. I'm their guardian. I can do whatever I want. No, they love it though. They're super excited because all of my kids, except for my youngest, is a little boy who's 7. All my other kids, my 10-year-olds, my 12-year-old, my 14, and my 16-year-old, they've all read all my books, every single one. So they're like my biggest fans. And so they were really excited to finally be in a book because I think when this one came out, it was probably book number 30 or something. So it wasn't like this was a brand new series for me. But it was actually really fun to write. But I understand why people don't include more kids in their books because it was harder than I thought it would be to have that many people in the scenes. I was like, oh my gosh, it felt like if you've ever done a French braid, it felt like doing a French braid backwards or inside out, you know, where the braid sticks out, but also with like 5 things instead of 3. And I was like, I keep dropping them. Gosh, where was that kid standing? What was he doing? You know, there's a lot of people. Sometimes it felt like people soup. So I'd have like, and I'd be like inventing reasons why someone's busy doing this thing over here. And we only have 3 people in this scene, you know? So anyway, but it was funny because I feel like I wrote the kids almost perfect. And then I get a lot of reviews from people. These kids were way too whiny. And I'm like, were they? Wow. Do you think? I felt like they were angelic. But maybe that's because I'm a little too in the thick of it. But anyway, it was a really fun series to write. And I'm actually writing book 7 right now. So, and that's supposed to be the last one, but I already had an idea for another last one. So there will be a book 8. That's what I'll be doing next. But anyway, I just got the cover on it. It's really pretty. So I think now, Danae, is probably a good time if you want to mention the other books. I should also warn people. I don't know if anyone else is in this boat. My books are ridiculously long. So I think the bequest is 450 pages or something. And I think the retreat is like 600 pages. These books are not short. Mine are quite long. So if you're thinking you want a nice quick read, sit down and just breeze through it. You probably want, is there someone who has a breeze through book? Mine are long. So you won't breeze through mine fast, I don't think. But maybe Ellie does. Ellie, do you have a good breeze through book if they just want to read something in an evening?
Mine's. This is pretty short. Yeah, I it's like it takes place in a beach town. So I kind of, when I was writing it, I had in mind like you'd be able to go to the beach or your pool or your air conditioning, whatever you like, and you'd be able to get through it in an afternoon. It's not really. It's about.
No, that's great. I think all readers will be able to say sometimes, and I do this too. Sometimes I'm like, I want a series with like 21-hour episodes. And other times I'm like, I just want to watch a movie, maybe even a quick movie. That's what I have the time and energy for. So just know what you're getting into. Mine are interconnected. So you don't want to start with a later book in the series. You need to read 1 and then 2 and then 3. It sounds like for Danae and Ellie, you can kind of, they're standalones and you can pick them up from anywhere.
Yeah, the same for my books, actually.
So I will say that I personally think like starting at the first book and then, you know, that was published going through. And I have like, if you go to my website, like I always have everything written in publishing order. I think that's a little more like you get like a richer experience, but yeah, they're meant to stand alone. You can just pick one up, whatever one, you know, you like, you kind of get through it and you might get like a sample chapter or a sneak peek or whatever into another book and kind of find your way from there.
Right.
Yep.
Mine's the same way.
And just add something to what you said, Bridget. You said earlier about putting kids in stories, how hard that is. Like putting dogs, putting pets in stories is also the same way. Like you can't, you know,
forget they're there for a chapter and circle back.
I've been feeding this dog, or where's this dog? And so I have to really make a choice early on. Do I really want a dog in this story or not? Because they're very cute and I love dogs, but you have to, you know, take care of them in a story too.
Yeah, Jewel, I very intelligently put in a dog that is a border collie because I like to write what I know clearly. And also one of the characters has a pig. So I'm like, I have never written a pig before, but our horse trainer at the jump barn has a pig and they love Pudge. I mean, Pudge has been all over TikTok when she goes to horse shows and stuff. And so I have a lot of And I'll get like 3 chapters in and be like, gosh, dang it, I forgot to write Pudge into any scenes. And I have to go back and edit them all out because I left it. It's not called Pudge in the book, but I have to write the pig. And I'm like, oh, I forgot the pig. So yeah, it's a lot of things to remember. So Danae, I'm going to mention Elena's real quick. It's under Liz Johnson and it's called Second Chance Ranch. And since we were just talking about how good it is to start at the beginning, I will say that what I think is awesome about the book that she chose, it's one of her Liz Isaacson books, obviously, and it is actually the very first Liz book she ever wrote. And it is the very first book of all her series. So this is what I told her, I was like, tell me what I should say. And so she said that I should say it's a second chance romance between a cowboy and the girl that he loved in high school. So obviously second chance means we're circling back around. He's back in town with a war injury and she's back in town with a 4-year-old and a divorce and she's looking for a job. But she gets hired at the ranch. So now he can't hide away and he has to face all the sparks between them. And so then the question is, can they turn their second chance into a forever family? And she said that it's basically the start of the Three Rivers romance world. And there are 3 series there now. So it would be a really good place to kind of, especially if you happen to be one of the few people who's never read a Liz Isaacson book, it's a good place to get started because it's the very beginning of 3 different Liz Isaacson series. So that's a good place to go and you get to start it for free. So Danae, did you want to talk about Natalie's and Jesse's books that are in here?
I'll talk about Natalie's, and I think Ellie said she's going to talk about Jesse's, right? Yeah. So really quick, I did want to mention, I know my book is book 3, but book 1 in that series is free at all retailers.
Oh, hey, can you drop in the or message me on the thing and I'll drop so it goes to everywhere. I can drop the link for that if you have
I'll get your books
link and I'll put it on there for you.
Perfect.
Maybe when you're not talking and I'll drop that in. That way, if anyone wants to start with book 1, they can.
Probably a good idea. I don't multitask as good as I used to.
Yeah, that's okay. When you're done talking in a second and Ellie starts, then I'll send it to me.
Perfect. I will do that. Okay. So Natalie Dean, she's an amazing writer. If you guys haven't read her, you got to try it. And she actually has her first in series, and this series is free as well. I could try to find that link for you guys too. But the book that she's giving away to you guys for free is Her Rival Cowboy. And I've never read a book quite like this one. And it was amazing. I couldn't put it down. I got in trouble for reading instead of doing other things, which I don't get a chance to read. So because of that reason, I just can't put them down. But it's a great book where it's like rich and poor. So, and Danny is the girl's name, and then Benji is the guy's name. And Danny has grown up poor and hard, and she's let's see, how does Benji describe her? A Renaissance woman. So she has more curves, which Benji really likes actually. So, but she's been picked on most of her life. Like she's a rancher. She loves to work hard. She loves to work with her hands. She doesn't really have time for the social stuff, and she hated high school. It was just plain torture for her. And they went to the same high school, but he doesn't remember her. You know, he was involved in his own stuff, and he's the rich boy, like the golden boys, him and his brothers of the small town. And it starts off with her barn being burnt down by this arsonist, and her brothers end up going into the hospital from injuries that they sustained trying to save the animals. And so their neighbors, which is this golden boy family, I think the Miller, and I'm sorry if it's wrong, the Millers, they send over Benji to come help out and help rebuild the barn and clean up and everything. And so as soon as she sees him, she's just angry. You know, she's been going through so much, and she kind of just goes off on him a little bit. And he's like, whoa, what's all this about? But then he starts to see her when she doesn't know she's being watched, and sees this other side of her. And he's like, I want to know that side. So it's really all about him and his persistence to make this gal like him, and to trust him, because she has total trust issues. And it's really, it's an amazing book. You guys are going to love it. And I'm going to stop there because I tend to give things away.
All right. Well, I am talking about Jessie Gussman's book that she's giving away for free. It is called The Accidental Fiancé with the Heartland Cowboy. And it used to be called Heartland Joy. So she recently changed the cover and the title. But that's her free book. And it's part of a Christmas series. I think there's 2 other books in the series. It's also an audiobook. If you've ever listened to Jessie's audiobooks, or I guess I should say, if you haven't listened to Jessie's audiobooks, you're in for a treat. They're really good.
Hey, Ellie, I almost forgot. Someone did ask if we're all on Audible. I'm just going to answer real quick because you were talking about audio. I'll just say all of my books, every single one is on Audible. Danae, are yours on Audible? Yours
Not
are not. What about Ellie? Are yours?
3 of my cowboy books, my Richie Ranch series books, are on Audible, and this book is it's a digital recording on Google.
Okay.
And my YouTube channel.
Okay. All right. That's great. And it sounds like Jessie's are.
Yes.
Okay. And Jewel, yours are on Audible? You're muted, baby. But I think she's saying yes. Jewel, you're still muted. We can see you talking.
No wonder. Okay, yeah. I do have, I'm starting to upload them on Audible, but I do have them on my YouTube channel too. But yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. And do we know about Natalie's or hers on Audible?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
She has some on Audible. Yeah. I don't know about all of them, and I don't know about these ones. I will double check. How about that?
Perfect. I was so if we see the answer, then we'll let you know about Natalie's for sure. Okay, sorry, Ellie, you can go back to it.
Okay. So a real quick synopsis. The main character in this book is also called Bridget, but it's spelled different than our Bridget. And she lives in a small town in Iowa, and she's kind of known as like the bad luck widow. Similar to what you were saying, Danae, like just a series of bad things had happened in her life. And she has a family farm, and it's kind of like that's her life, and she has children and they're her life, and that's kind of like it. And people speculate that there was a curse put upon her, and they kind of are wary, like she kind of is like they call her like the black not the black widow, they call her the bad luck widow, but it's kind of like that kind of reputation. And a man named Sean comes along, and he's just undaunted, and she tries to deter him, and one thing leads to another, and he just is like, no, I'm not, like, just no. It's all good. And so they start to work alongside of each other, and he just really sees like her strength and her generosity and her goodness. And she just, just trying to prove him wrong. And he sees all this beauty in her. And so then eventually there's some really heartwarming scenes also with kids, where there's like a bully, and they pray for the bully, and he just like, they really show a lot of Christian values, which I really love reading about. And it's so heartwarming. And it's, I would say,
sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't mean to do that. I know how to add a comment now. Sorry, guys, I am not savvy.
I would just say, like, this is one of those stories where you get like the warm fuzzies. It's like you just fall in love with it, like you want to be there, and it's really, really good. And then also Jessie just did ask me to say, I'm looking for it here. She asked me to say the thing she loves about it. I think she wanted me to say, I actually can't find exactly where she wrote it, but I think it was, she wrote, this is a wonderful, overtly Christian story. It's not just the town that thinks Bridget is cursed, but Sean doesn't believe it. He knows God is in control, and he's not scared away. And I think that's a really powerful message. And good book, recommend it, and you can get it for free.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 9 or 10 minutes left. And so with that 9 or 10 minutes, I thought we could each take, 2 or 3 minutes and just talk about what we're working on right now. So Danae, do you want to start?
Sure. I'm sorry. I was kind of getting the link in. I think
Ellie. Ellie, do you want to talk? You talk about what you're doing right now, and then we'll do Jewel and then Danae.
Yeah. Thank you. So last week I had a new release come out. It is called The Naughty or Nice List, and it's a Christmas in July romance. It takes place during Christmas time, but it's released in Christmas in July. And it's a second chance romance, kind of like secret high school sweethearts who have a falling out and then come back together. And it takes place in a mountain town in Colorado, and the male main character, his family has a ranch, and there was a will, and he was kind of left with a stipulation where he needs to get married by Christmas, which is always like, I love the deadline, the ticking time clock. Like I was saying before, it's like, you kind of get this anticipation, like what's going to happen. And of course we know that it's a happily ever after. So they have some trouble, but they eventually come around, and it's a lot of Christmas feels and country living, small town living, which I always enjoy writing and reading. And then right now, my work in progress, I actually just finished editing a small Southern, I'm calling it a rom-com mystery. It's a rom-com with a splash of mystery. There's a scavenger hunt sort of threaded throughout the series. And it's a grumpy sunshine. It's always fun to put characters at odds with each other. And he's ex-military, or retired military, I should say. And she is an aspiring country singer. And I don't usually listen to music while I'm writing, but when I'm not writing and I'm, doing chores or whatever, I'll have music on. And so that's been kind of fun, listening and kind of being inspired by that.
Perfect. Jewel, you got it. You unmuted right away. Why don't you tell us what you're working on now?
I know. I have new things. So I just released my audiobook of A Cowboy for Christmas. And so that's been fun. I love my narrators. It's a dual narration. So I don't know, like I love hearing both of the male and the female, and it just gets me so like swoony, I guess, especially with a low baritone voice with the cowboy. So that's out. And then I also have another book coming out, the follow-up to the Secret Royal, which you'll get through this promo. And it's called Blind Date with a Rodeo Cowboy. And it's like a modern day Cyrano de Bergerac story. I don't know if you know what that is or if I even pronounce that correctly, but it's basically somebody that a cowboy who is in love with a girl and he doesn't really want to, he's scared of being rejected. And so he writes her secret love letters. So that's kind of the plot. I mean, not the plot, but like the start of that book. So it was kind of fun.
I remember I had to read Cyrano de Bergerac in school. I don't know if everyone else had to, but yeah.
Right.
And then we watched that movie with Gerard Depardieu or whatever.
Or if you have seen it in the 80s or 90s, Roxanne is kind of like that too, with Steve Martin. So anyway, it's been fun.
That's great. Danae, how about you? You ready to talk a little about your current project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to do like Jewel 2 and just have two because I've just had a new release, but I'm writing a different one right now. So I just had a new release on my Cowboys at Christmas Tree Ranch series. It's book 2 called The Cowboys Fake Christmas. And it's about the oldest brother in the Johnson family. So the whole series follows the Johnson family that own the ranch. And I really love this one because, of course, the suspense, it just keeps everything flowing for me to have a little bit of that in there. And the oldest brother is kind of like the one that does everything he's supposed to do, just, kind of doesn't speak up for himself, doesn't do much for himself, but he meets this gal that has this mysterious past and overhears a conversation, and he's just stuck on her. Like he cannot let her go. And she's just kind of like a little spitfire, but she's been running for most of her life, so she doesn't really know how to trust other people. She doesn't know how to stay in one place. So he's just kind of there continuing to build her trust, and then they get into this predicament and they become fake fiancés for Christmas. And so I always love that trope. It's fun. So I'm not going to go into too much more because, like I always say, I go too far. And the book I'm writing next that I'm working on right now is the third book in my Hope Lake series. It's also a romantic suspense as well as a touch of suspense. And this one deals with, in the very first book, you actually meet him, and he is a deputy in the small town of Hope Lake. And he goes on to become the FBI guy. And he gets in trouble for some vigilante kind of stuff, but he saved the girl. And he comes back and he realizes that he's being followed. And he's falling in love with the town gossip's niece. And but she doesn't want anything to do with all the drama. So because she's scared because something else happened to her friend. So she has like a history there. And so it's the trying to get safe from the drama that's coming in, as well as trying to show the gal that she can trust him. And anyways, so I'm going to end again. Thanks.
So we have like 2.5, 3 minutes left. So I just wanted to say, I am sure that Jewel and Ellie and Danae will all agree with me. I bet they'll start nodding in a second when they hear what I have to say. Trump is the bet. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, but I did want to say how much I appreciate you guys and how much I love this job. And if it weren't for our readers, we wouldn't be able to do this. I'm a lawyer and I am a competent lawyer. I didn't quit doing legal work because I couldn't do it. I quit doing it because I wanted to write stories. And I honestly wasn't sure if my stories would ever find a home. And I get kind of emotional when I think about it. But finding readers who love my stories, who like to read what I write, and it's what allows me to be able to support my family. It's what allows me to be able to live the life that I lead and have a ridiculous number of horses. And when you guys leave reviews, when you guys recommend our books to friends, when you guys come on live streams and tell us you love our books, it literally warms my heart.
Oh, yes.
It literally makes me full of joy and gratitude for what we're able to do and for you guys that allow us to do this as our job. So thank you so much for loving our stories, for supporting indie authors, and for getting on social and talking about our books and screaming about how you love them, and for telling us that our books changed your lives. It means a lot. We really do care, and we love you guys so much. So thank you for coming to the live stream.
It means everything.
And thanks for letting us do the best job ever. We love you guys.
And don't forget to come to the Cowboy Day celebration in our group.
Yeah, that's right. There's a Cowboy Day celebration going on right now. And when does it end?
It ends Sunday at 5 Pacific time.
Weekend. So if you get bored, you can either pick up one of these books and start reading, or you can head over there and kind of visit with people depending on how social you feel. So you got a couple of good options for this weekend. So anyway, I'll just say, yeehaw, have a great weekend. I should have worn a cowboy hat. What was I thinking? Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.